We have significant breaking news from the Department of NHL Player Safety. They've given Morgan Rielly a 5-game suspension. We'll discuss the details coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have finally the updated conclusion of the Morgan Rielly suspension details that we've been waiting for most of the day. Morgan Rielly was offered an in-person hearing by the Department of NHL Player Safety, which did allow them to suspend for more than 5 games. They could go 6 or more in that scenario. Rielly did accept the in-person invitation, but unfortunately was not able to follow through with it due to inclement weather. New York's getting a massive snowstorm, so he wasn't able to actually go. Therefore, they did it via Zoom. That happened a few hours ago this afternoon, and then just in the past 30 minutes to an hour here, Department of Player Safety finally, after all this time making its way to announce their decision. Morgan Rielly has been suspended for 5 games. Now, I know there's going to be a large spectrum of opinions here. A lot of people think there should be none. I've seen some people say it should be 10, 15, 20. I've heard some people say 2, 3. I've heard quite a variety, all over the map, really, in their opinions. And I think some people do have difficulties looking at things objectively when it's their team. So there's been quite a battle on social media between Sens and Leafs fans. It's going to be nice to finally be able to move on here, but I'm sure the conversation won't stop here just yet. So essentially, George Parros and the Department of Player Safety acknowledged a couple of key points here. One, Morgan Rielly, yes, he indeed does have a clean history prior to this. This is his first time having any issues with fines or suspensions during his over 700-game NHL career. But a couple of things that they really focused in on here is the fact that this is not a hockey play. It is cross-checking, and even though they did accept his explanation that he did make a little bit of contact with the body and it rode up to his head, that he came at him intentionally after the whistle with his stick up at an unacceptable level, that he knew he was going to make contact up high and it was kind of reckless, essentially. So there's that, and the fact that they use the word retribution a lot. I know I've heard some reporters like Elliot Friedman and Jeff Merrick talked about the fact that some people brought to their attention that they're going to probably use like the revenge factor here, because this was clearly a situation where Greg comes in, takes a slap shot, circles around, gets ready to go into celebration to celebrate the goal. Rielly had plenty of time, as they mentioned, to come around and either lower his stick and attack him in a different way, or to not attack him at all, actually maybe drop the gloves, challenge him to a fight. Like, that's what I would rather see. Like, your stick is a weapon and we don't need headshots. Like, if you want to act tough, do it in a way that the other guy actually has a chance to defend himself. Do it like that. I mean, I've heard a lot of comments about it. I'm like, really? And I've heard people say, well, if the role was reversed and it was the Senators that were the team that were scored on, like that, let's say Nick Robertson, Matthew Nyes, anybody comes in and takes a slap shot and rips one into the Sens empty net, Brady Tkachuk would lose his mind and do the same thing. I was like, I honestly don't think he would. I think Brady Tkachuk would be pissed, and I think Brady Tkachuk would come in, drop his gloves, and say, let's go. Not cross-check somebody to the head. That's just not what I think he would do in that case. So to me, I understand Morgan Rielly is not a dirty player. I don't think that of him. He's never proven any reason before that to think that he is. But it was a bad decision. Should he have responded, I guess, is the big question. And I have no problem with the response. And like I said before, to be completely honest, strictly from trying to be unbiased and just as a fan watching a good hockey game, I loved all of it. It brought some spirit and some spice to the Battle of Ontario, which has been stale for a long time. I mean, I've heard Leafs fans going, well, who's this Ridley Greg, some no-name player? It's like, well, you're not paying attention. Ridley Greg's a really solid former first-round pick, highly drafted, highly touted player. He represented Team Canada at the World Juniors. At some point, you probably cheered for this guy, not even realizing it. And he's having a phenomenal rookie season. He had to play up in the lineup when the Sens were battling injuries at the beginning of the season. In the short term, he's probably going to be a middle 6 player for them, but he's he's kind of an antagonist. He's a pain in the butt to play against. That's just what Ridley Greg is. And, I can see him doing that. His teammates have his back. I heard some people say about the Claude Giroux Hockey Night in Canada interview that Giroux didn't want to back him. It's like, I think Claude Giroux was not really in the situation. Everything just happened. He just got off the ice. And, he's an older player. If, he might not have been crazy about it, but he certainly wasn't going to comment anything to, to show that he wasn't backing his teammate. So he just said no comment. Essentially, he didn't really want to talk about it. I don't blame him. But all the other younger teammates, for Pinto, Stützle, etc., they all loved it. And they thought that it was great. And really, are we going to, think about it in basketball. How many times do you see wide open play, end of the game, player going in and they absolutely do this big slam dunk? Okay, is it over the top? Is it necessary when you could do a simple, less flashy layup? Sure. Do you ever see anybody getting mad about it? No, you don't. Baseball, when you see a walk-off home run, do you see people getting mad? You don't. Look at football. When there's a big sack, the defensive player sacks the quarterback or something, the way they celebrate, some of the touchdown dances and different things you see. It's over the top, yes, but that's sports. It's personality. It's just I don't understand why hockey players have to have I played hockey a lot in my life. I never played pro. Obviously, I can't speak from their perspective exactly, but I've been involved in some capacity around the game for a big chunk of my life, and I just don't see what the big deal is. So I personally would like to see more of that in the game. We need some villains. It makes things way more interesting and spices up some rivalries. It's been exhausting, I find, talking about this topic. The opinions out there. Leafs, I've seen so many Leaf fans saying the NHL's out to get them. They're not. Don't cross-check people in the head and they won't get suspended. But to be honest, I think 5 is probably a better outcome than I thought it was going to be. My original gut feeling, I'll be honest, I was a little surprised that it was an in-person hearing. I didn't think he would get 6+ games. I thought 6+ games was going to be a little excessive. The good news here is that Greg, I think he was banged up a little bit on the play, but not enough to miss time. He was back at practice yesterday. He's playing tonight. So, not the same as David Perron, who got 6 games, another situation with the Suns earlier this year. But Artem Zub was his victim in that case, and he had a concussion and missed a few weeks. Different scenario completely when it comes to the injury. Thankfully, in Rielly's case, that he did make a little bit of contact with the shoulder, which probably helped that cross-check not be worse on Greg's face. So at the end of the day, I thought I thought 4. I'm not sure why, but my gut feeling before we even knew if it was in person or phone or whatever, I thought 4 games. The fact that it's 5 is pretty close to that. I think the fact that they didn't get 6 or more, considering they offered in person, is a positive for the Leafs and for Rielly. So at the end of the day, you do the crime, you do the time. That's what it is. I think it's also a fact that they've been focusing hard on getting this type of cross-check to the head out of the game. So that's also been a big focus as well. And then the headshots and the fact that it's not a hockey play after the whistle. There's no way you can say it was an accident. He knew what he was doing. He had time to change his mind or go at things a different way. And he chose not to. Like I said, Rielly's not normally in those situations. He was the closest player to him. Felt he needed to respond. If he doesn't respond, he probably gets called out by the media and gets called, the Leafs are a soft team, as we've been saying, da-da-da-da-da. I get it. I understand why he reacted. I just would have liked to seen a different type of reaction that didn't involve a headshot. That's all. So that's my take. Let me know yours down in the comments. I'm sure there'll be lots of great people supporting it and lots of people hating it, and you're all entitled to your opinion. So let's try to have a civilized conversation. Keep this comment section not getting too toxic, and we'll catch you next time here in the next video. Another news video coming here very shortly later tonight, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you're new, of course. Lots of conversations here at Top Shelf Hockey, and I'll catch you next time.